Good job. I'd like to call to order the West Mifflin Area School District Work Session meeting on Thursday, September 16th, 2021. This being held in the West Mifflin Area Middle School, 81 Commonwealth Avenue, West Mifflin, PA 15122. Meeting begins at 6 p.m. 6:12 p.m. Opening exercises, pledge to the flag.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
I forgot my sheet, so I'm just going to go down the line. Ahern.
Here.
Engler.
Here.
Mrs. White.
Here.
Mrs. Casale.
Here.
Here. Mr. Mattis.
Here.
Mr. Alexandrov. Mr. DeCento.
Here.
Mr. Blakely.
Here. Presentations, Mr. Souls.
Yes, Mr. President, we'd like to congratulate Dr. Solomon, the Assistant Superintendent, for defending his dissertation, Effective Preparedness for the West Mifflin Area Life Skills Program to optimize post-secondary success, and earning his doctorate degree in educational leadership from California University. And with that, we have a certificate of achievement. We'd like to thank Dr. Solomon for all his hard work and efforts that he puts into the school every day. Thank you, Dr. Solomon.
Dr. Solomon, presentation B.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I go into the presentation B, I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Soldier, thank you to the whole school board for allowing me this opportunity. And, I just want to really appreciate it. To tell everybody just a little snippet of what the capstone project really was. Going to California University, your doctorate had a focus on in-house, which compared to other universities, it was always exterior. I chose the one that focused on our high school life skills students. I wanted to make sure that we're doing the best to educate them so they can have an opportunity to find employment after graduation, or at least find success in coming out. A part of that is focused on the school store, which has officially been named at this point. It's now the Titan Shop, SHOPPE, which just a reminder everybody that there's a soft reopening tomorrow morning. But and so through the research, it was at the high school, and I would also like to thank the high school staff. They were very willing to help me through the data, so that was much appreciated. But finding out that primarily the younger students, younger life skills students, to be more specific, they need a heavy academic curriculum. But as they get older, it balances out middle school to be 50-50, to where it's very heavy on the functional, which is the hands-on curriculum as they're in high school to better prepare themselves. So it was the experience was very eye-opening to me. It was very rewarding. And so I just wanted to share that. Thank you for that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon.
Presentation B this evening is by Mrs. Bishop and Mrs. Killingsburg. They're going to give a short presentation on the Kindness Club. They have been running the Kindness Club for the past year, and they would like to share some of the things that they have done.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Bishop, and this is my teaching partner, Gina Hillingsburg. We both teach fourth grade here at the middle school, and we both have 19 years with the district. We would like to thank you for the opportunity to make the 4th and 5th grade Kindness Club a recognized school club.
Our goal for this club is to help promote a culture of kindness here at the middle school. We want to allow the students to have a purpose here, to take on a leadership role and to show responsibility. It's hard transitioning the elementary kids into the middle school and make them actually feel like this is their school and have a part in the school. So by showing responsibility and taking on leadership roles through the activities that we have done, it has really helped them transition and make the kids feel included here at the school.
Over the last year, the Kindness Club has participated in several activities. Activities in the handout that we have given to you. Students have tagged and bagged trees that were donated and then delivered the bags
to each of the homerooms in 4th grade. For Teacher Appreciation Week, the students used kindness cards to go room to room distributing treats from Target, Costco, and party cake shop. They also decorated cards for the teachers to spread cheer and kindness. We also participated in a Chalk the Walk, in which the students chalked positive words and artwork to encourage the new fourth grade students on Transition Day. And finally, the students tagged and bagged freeze blocks to throw kindness like confetti to the students for Fun Day.
Over the course of the last year, we were able to form partnerships with companies such as Target, Costco, Neighborhood Florist, and Party Cake Bakery. We also are working with the PBIS team in our school to coordinate lead the kids into the PBIS leadership roles as well. And one of the most important activities that we have done actually over the last several years is we worked with the NED show. Last year was a little bit difficult due to COVID, they were not able to come in. But with the NED show, it actually does a school-wide assembly that promotes kindness and relating that to education as well. And it gives the students a chance to work at pay it forward now. So they actually run a store that is provided by the NED show, and the proceeds that we make pay for other school districts to have this assembly as well. And again, because it was COVID last year, one of the ways that we communicated with our Kindness Club on remote days and hybrid days was through our School with G program. So they were able to use that platform and have part of a group and receive messages and post things on there as well.
And again, we'd just like to thank you very much for letting us speak to you this evening.
Thank you, Brother.
Thank you very much. I have a question. The trees that were passed out, I'm assuming they're planted at the middle school? Is that where?
We actually were not allowed to plant them on school property for Mrs. Baker. However, every fourth grade student was given a tree and they took it home. Some of the kids shared pictures of they planted it in their backyard, or they went to a park somewhere and planted them. So yes, they all got a tree and it was bagged. The Kindness Club, actually, that was their first big project, that they actually had to physically work hard, and they bagged over 200 trees to pass out.
Great. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that concludes the presentation for this evening.
Thank you. Just step up for a second. Re-identifying schools will be held in the regular board meeting. Or hearing of citizens will be held in the regular board meeting. There are no information items this evening. Number 6, board secretary business manager report.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a number of items for your consideration for next week. Board of Directors, A1, we have the second reading of the 300 policies. These are replacing the 3, 4, and 500 policies that we currently have. B1, Finance, is a $5,597 transfer from the Construction Fund 219 to the Capital Projects Fund. This is tied to an item under purchasing. This was a change order to the rate retaining wall at Homeville Elementary. Number 2, it's a recommendation to transfer $6,154.89 from the GESA Construction Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. This is to pay for, we transferred the money to replace the floor and auxiliary gym. But I think it would be appropriate to pay also the top coatings and that for that project from one of our the GESA construction fund. So this
never paid yet while the gym was being done.
I'm sorry?
That wasn't paid until now. Wasn't that done like a couple months ago?
No, that bill kind of got displaced.
Okay. So
we owe it, and we could pay it either out of the general fund, but I think it would be better to pay that out of the capital projects fund.
Thank you.
There's real estate refunds number 3. I was notified today that there'll be some additional, so that number will change. Every year we accept the grants from PDE, Title I, Title II, and Title IV. So So those are listed appropriately in C1, purchase and contracting. This is the change order to the Homeville Elementary wall, which is to the transfer. And that total change order was $5,597. The minutes, E, we have our reports. F, refunds subtracted from expenditure. G, invoices. A is personnel staffers. We did conduct a secretarial test, and that was $60. B is legal tax service. LST, that's commission for LST. Item number C, that's for searches, which we split with the borough. You have D and E, which are noted on the agenda. Item F, this is the school guard expenses for last year from West Mifflin. Number G is the Whitaker school crossing guard expenses. H is we're ratifying this. A, G, and H have already been paid. H is our, we're going through our local audit. So we put $20,000 down. They've started it. Item I is we had an issue with the girls' high school locker room ceiling. So we had someone come out to assess it. It was $250. Item J is actually, it's not for the high school girls' locker room ceiling. It's for the Homeville retaining wall. So that will be corrected for next week. And item K is our monthly retainer plus, I believe there were 2 fees for real estate appeals charges on that bill. So that's $9,270.50. Item 2A, the capital projects fund. That's the first payment for the Homeville retaining wall for what they've done thus far. And then we just have P, which are the P cards, cash disbursement reports. And H, requisitions others. We did have 3 executive sessions in August, and they're properly noted. And that concludes my report.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. The G1, the assessment, who did that assessment?
PVE.
I'm sorry?
Of the girls' locker room?
Yes.
PVE. Through our architects. That's an engineering firm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Joe, I have a question. The C1, in contracting. Is this an addition, is this an addition to the?
Yeah, that's an addition to the original project.
What is it, like, what's new or what's changed?
There was a curve, they found a curve that was buried, it wasn't on the original assessment.
They found it.
They found it when they were doing the digging, so they had to pour a little bit of curve.
I got you.
And we talked about that last
I couldn't even hear
That was, they changed their, they had to dig out the base of the wall, which they couldn't see until they started excavating, which was deeper, so they had to remove it. And so instead of the wall being 18 inches high, it's 12 inches high above ground. So it was just something that you couldn't predict until you got to it. The architects that go out did look at it. They thought this was very appropriate and very reasonable for the change.
Okay, thank you.
Explain this please, so B2 again. So we did.
Yeah, that was part of the floor refinishing.
Right.
Now, we could have paid that out of the general fund, but since it is a capital improvement, we do have that construction fund money. I thought it would be appropriate to transfer the money from, which one was from the original project. The original flooring was $24,400. And this was the base coat, the wax and everything that they put on top. The sealer.
So this is a transfer.
Yes, yeah, that's just a transfer to the capital projects fund so we can pay it out of the capital project.
I see.
Those construction funds have no check writing ability,
I see.
so this is what we do in order to pay it.
So the crossing guards, G1, is that what we typically pay in a full year? Or is this reduced because of COVID?
I'd have to look to see what we, and I believe I put it in the board docs, I'm pretty sure, it's and everything that they pay for the crossing guards. That has many more crossing guards than Whitaker does. And I think that's in line. And I'm not sure if they still have to provide crossing guards for the charter schools and Catholic schools that were still in session. So even if they may not have been in, they were still probably in.
Anybody else have any questions? 7, district operations.
Yes, Mr. President. Under A and B, we're asking the board to approve the Title I school-wide plan for Clara Barton Elementary and Homeville Elementary. We're going to ask the board to also approve the addendum to the athletic handbook, stating in print, putting in writing that the only people within the booster groups that are getting free passes, the tickets to the game, are the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, the officers. And that was presented to the board as well. And as of policy 919, we have 5 booster groups ready for approval. And I believe we just received one more today, so there'll be a 6th. Football is just starting theirs in as well. And that's all I have under district operations.
Any questions? State superintendent's report.
The superintendent's report, Mr. President, under A, we have nothing under student services. Under B, student activities, we have a list of activities for the junior ROTC and our chemistry group. Under C, buildings and grounds, we have multiple groups using the facilities for fundraising, pickup, booster meetings, lifeguard training, and so forth. And then that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question. Mr. Soul, did you say that we received the football booster info today?
We got that today, yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
So 9, no professional personnel items. No non-certified personnel items, no athletic personnel, no substitutes, no conferences. Board president's correspondence, there are none. Executive session discussion, that will be held after this meeting. Board reports, committee reports.
Start with Safety and Transportation Committee. We are advertising currently for security, part-time security guards, or police, I should say, district policemen. And also, there was a topic that was asked to be brought up about COVID testing, or I'm sorry, COVID vaccinations within the district. We have reached out to UPMC, and they are willing to offer a clinic within the schools for anyone who would like to participate. So we're in the process of setting that up as moving forward. We tried that last year as well, and did not get to the threshold that they needed to come in.
Do you know what, so you can blame me for this on your. Is there a magic number? Is it 100? Is it 200?
Not their threshold, that's what we have.
UPMC. It looks like they're eager too. I think you had several emails from them asking for us to conduct a.
We can't hear.
Now we can't hear you.
All right, I'll yell.
No, it's okay. I was just asking about the threshold number needed in order to have a vaccination clinic in our community from UPMC. And apparently, we had an interest of 66 last year, and that wasn't enough. So I was just asking Mr. Souls what UPMC considers to be enough people to make it worth their while to have a clinic in our district. This was an item that I brought up to Mr. Souls. I think it's important for us to continue to emphasize the need for vaccinations and to help make it more convenient to get our community vaccinated, especially for those who are having difficulties getting vaccines. So I appreciate you looking into this. And I think we should do whatever we can to make this, as convenient as possible, and also publicize it so that people can plan to attend, and make sure that the communications are out there and clear, that we're trying to bring these things into our community to make sure that we can help stem the tide of the pandemic.
And Nurse Chapose is our contact point for the district, and our nurses do an excellent job with arranging those and getting in touch with UPMC.
I would just recommend that if we are going to have these vaccination clinics, that any student has parental consent form. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you're 14 or older, you do not need parental consent. Out of abundance of caution, I'm going to recommend that it requires students to have parental consent.
Ready to go buildings and grounds?
What was the security item on here that you talked about?
Security, that we're advertising for
Okay.
part-time school police.
How many positions?
Part-time will take as many that will come in, but we're gonna use them for our extracurricular activities and coverage when our full-time people are out.
Got it. Yeah.
Buildings and grounds, Mrs. Wells, would you like to report on the Homeville wall and the Clara Martin fences?
Sure. I don't know if everybody received Joe, you put this for everybody. It's a report on Dave McLean, spoke with the gentleman doing the wall yesterday, and I've been there every day. They said they're probably around 70% complete, but this gives you a schedule. They'll be done in 3 to 4 weeks, with that wall. And if anybody's drove past it, it looks really, really nice. And, they are having, the neighbors come out and are all happy, and I guess neighbors spoke them some cookies yesterday, so they're doing really well and following along and telling me what they're doing every week. So they're finished shooting the shotcrete probably tomorrow, or I'm sorry, early next week, and then start the cap that goes on top of it, then start the paving, and at the same time get the fence in place. The fencing is being done by an additional contractor. They're not doing the fence, but he said it looks like it's on schedule to be done within these next 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So October 7th, I believe, is the date that he told us. The Allegheny fence has completed the fence that was put around Clara Martin. Mrs. Haney's very happy with it. We provided her with locks so that they could lock the gates that are within those fences. So that's totally done. Couple more things about Conzo. The front gate was repaired and reset. That wrought iron fence gate that was repaired, that was hit back in April by a driver. And also Mayor Kelly, he donated 2 handicap parking signs that he obtained, and we painted the bottoms of them. They're in concrete. And where they're sitting right now is in the front of the or the main parking lot on on Eliza Street. And the crossing guard was very happy that they're there, and we did paint. That parking lot's not paved, so we did paint wheelchairs and lines on that so that people, there's room now for 3 handicapped people to park there. The high school, the ceiling was placed replaced back into or pulled up into that girls' locker room, so that's done. And we will continue to monitor that as the engineer asked us to do. And all the backflows are complete at the main entrance, the stadium, and the middle school. Krisha, last month you talked about Keystone acquisitions and the turnpike and the electric being redone, and they did reach out to me. Basically, we have to get quotes for that, but they have a person that is doing this whole area, the shopping center down the hill, and that's to be done in October, November with very minimal disruption is what they're telling me, but they will be in contact with me about that.
I think our main concern was that we weren't losing power to our schools during the day.
Correct, and that's what I told them, that we would work with them to make sure that that didn't happen during school hours.
Wasn't there a question about the, we had to find our own contractor?
We do, but they have a recommendation for us, and so what she told me to do was email them, get a quote, and then submit it to them because they pay for it.
Okay.
So I did do that, but he has not gotten back to me yet. Also, we have an integrated pest management in the school district. That's our pest control. The gentleman that did that for us is ill, so he's no longer working. We're looking for a new exterminator, and I met with the gentleman last week. We toured the buildings with him. He does Still Valley School District. He does the borough of West McLennan. He gave us a price on his monthly service, and it's something that we have to do. So I was very happy with his price, and we need to get him started because it's been a couple months since we've had our monthly service. So I think Joe you have that in your packets.
Which electrician did you ask for a quote from?
It's part of J. Didiano, which is working with them and Duquesne
With-
Light and working
with
with,
the
like I said, the
turnpike.
shops down over the hill.
Okay.
His name was Mr. Bailey.
That would be Alpha Exterminator?
Yes.
And that was $580 per month.
That's actually a few dollars less than we're currently paying.
Correct.
Committee recommend putting Alpha Exterminator on the agenda?
Yes.
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 I see Mr. Esper going to speak to the marquee.
Yes, we have Tori Cole
Yes.
from NEFCO.
No, I'm using my own.
So, thank everyone for having me here today. Sorry, your voices, I've been traveling about 6-7 hours already today, so just getting back. I'm here today, I'm a local rep of NEVCO. Been with them about 8.5 years, familiar with the marquee sign out front. Obviously, there's some issues with it. Has everyone seen the letter? Joe, have you ever forwarded the letter
Yes.
from NEVCO? Has everyone had a chance to read the letter?
Yes.
The last one, yes. Yes, from our diagnosis, we definitely agree that it's a lightning strike that has caused the damage to the marquee. I tried to print it home, my printer wasn't working, so it's now in the garbage, but damage to the marquee or possibly the guard shack itself. Initial diagnosis, which is remote diagnosis, the central processing unit in the house, the guard shack is damaged, and some scan cards and blocks at the marquee itself are damaged. Now, obviously, the concern is the two things to look at is repairing or replacing. A couple things to consider when you're looking at repairing this marquee. First and foremost, are the blocks itself. That marquee is roughly 10 years old. The blocks in it right now are 20 millimeter. What millimeters, that's the pixel of the display. The smaller the number, the better the clarity, the clearer the picture. 10 years ago, 20 millimeter was great. But nowadays, the way technology has gone, it's gone to 60 millimeter and 10 millimeter. So the situation you have there is the 20 millimeter blocks that you have are becoming obsolete. So So they're very hard to get a hold of, and if you do find some, it may take months to get them in. We do have some in stock now. The marquee out there right now has 180 blocks on each side. In our initial repair proposal, we have about 36 blocks for each side, and that's our initial repair. There could be more damage than that, there could be less. Until you actually start getting into it, you really have no idea of what you're really looking at. So again, with the blocks, they're 20 millimeter, becoming obsolete, harder to find. The newer proposal with the replacement, they're 60 millimeter blocks, which is what's at the stadium right now. So the newer technology, better resolution on blocks. The other thing to look at is the power supplies inside the marquee itself. Some of you may be able to look at it and see visually that power supply is gone. Maybe fried, fan may not be working, those are easy to replace. Visually, you may look at some and you can't tell what it is. It looks like it's running perfectly. So you do all your repairs, you get it up and running. It might last a month, it might last 6 months, it might last a year, no idea. But those power supplies have been most likely compromised by the strike, so it's a good chance they are going to fail at some point. Again, this is 10 years old, so these are used, obviously not used for it, but they have some use to them already. Another thing, back to the 20 millimeter blocks. If you do replace those blocks with newer blocks, you have like brand new blocks, never been used, they're going to be super bright. Next to blocks that have been up there for 10 years, they have some burn to them. They've been used. It's almost like looking at a light bulb. It's going to dim some. So you're going to have bright blocks next to some dim blocks. If you've ever driven down the street and looked by a bank or some of the other smaller marquees, it looks like a quilt. You can see a bright block, dark block. You see it looks like a quilt. Potentially, that's what that marquee is going to look like if you go with repair. So you're going to have newer blocks up against older blocks. So again, there's no really telling how long these blocks are going to last or how long you're going to get. It's 10 years old. So again, until you start actually getting inside that marquee and start replacing things, you're not going to know 100% what is actually going on inside there. Again, things are visually going to look like they're perfect and running good. We could replace all new scan cards, new everything, new power supplies. It may last a year, may last years, who knows? You may have parts going. Downside of that too is if you have any parts going a year or two down the line, this marquee is out of warranty. So any type of repair, service, labor, anything down the line is going to be a cost of the district beyond, if you're going with a repair spot. If you're looking at replacement, some benefits to the replacement obviously is the newer technology. The newer software actually works off the cloud. So what you can actually do is change that sign from any smartphone, iPad, iPhone. So if you have a snow day, whoever is the designated person that's running the thing can actually change the sign from at home to say snow day, school closed. They don't have to come into the school to do that. So it's newer software to run it as well. 16 millimeters for tighter resolution to be better picture. And it's going to be full 5-year warranty. Again, everything inside there is brand new stuff inside the garbage shack as well. So everything is new if you look at the replacement. So again, the repair, there's no 100% guarantee that what might happen down the line with it. So there's some things to consider. Again, obviously, not my decision what you folks want to do. I just want to make sure everyone's give you as much information I can with the difference between repair and replacement.
I have a quick question. What's that average lifespan, the one we have in there that's broken? What's the life expectancy of something like that?
Typically, they have a 100,000 hour lifetime on the LED, so it's usually anywhere from about 12 to 15 years, depending on how long you're using it and how bright you're running it. I know this one here tends to run pretty bright, so it's going to burn out a little faster, but typically you're about 12 to 15 years.
So this one's pretty much right up.
You're 2/3 to 3/4 of the way already to it already. That's correct.
Victoria,
Yes.
can you guys turn my mic on, please? My biggest concern is the marquee repairable or not? And you keep saying, and we talked about this last week, you won't know until you get in there.
Correct.
Being that this is an insurance claim, and it can be paid for if it's unrepairable, my biggest thought was to pay somebody to go in and find out if it's worth fixing. Now, to my knowledge, you guys have not done that, correct?
No, yeah, everything we've done right now has been remote. We're able to detect some things just through a remote logging into the system, notice that the computer went bad, and noticing that there are some definitely things fried in the board. Yes.
And our insurance claim is going off of your recommendations. So in my mind, I look at it as a roof, where from the ground, it looks like it needs this and this and this. But when you get up there, you need a whole new roof.
Yeah, and
Is it
that's,
worth paying you to go in and look at it and see what it really needs before we make a decision? I guess that's what I'm trying.
yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. That's definitely an option if you want to have someone come out. But again, the back end of that is we can find the parts that are completely not working now and fix them, and the board might work great. But again, there's no way to look at a component and visually look at it and say, this is going to go November 21st, 2022. There's no way to tell that anything in the board hasn't been compromised. It's not showing right now.
Okay, so this got struck by lightning, and you won't know what it needs until you look at it. But if we replace it, and we put this money towards it to get it replaced, is that gonna be soup to nuts? You're not gonna come back here next month and say, you know what, the lightning struck the pole over there. Like, do we know that when you put that new one in, there's no other issue?
Yeah, that's our recommendation too, is that when we replace everything, everything's brand new, there's nothing in there compromised. It's a new processor in the guard shack as well, so it's basically like you started out with it.
And the new one would come with a warranty.
Yeah, 5-year warranty as well, yes, correct. So it basically would be like if you started at ground zero and put a brand new one in.
Tori,
Yes,
do you have maintenance records for the marquee, since you're familiar with the marquee?
I'm sure we can get them. I mean, I don't personally have them, but I can definitely get any type of maintenance records from
I would
our.
request that, please.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question as well. Nevco did the scoreboards
Yes.
for the district.
Correct.
Has Nevco sponsored in that?
I'm not that I'm aware of yet, no.
Is there a way that you guys could?
Yeah, and actually, to be honest with you, there's another thing that we had another school talk to us about too, and I can't make any decisions myself, it's above me, but also potentially some type of a small, like a scholarship fund. Instead of, either way, either like a donation, like a sponsorship, or maybe a scholarship fund to a senior or college, something like that.
That really is a separate topic that we should not go into with regards to this.
I have a question, just to clarify. You have not checked out run any diagnostic tests aside from the remote diagnostics?
Yes, nothing on site. We were able to log into the sign remotely. We can get into your computer system and see what was going on with certain things. We saw the computer was bad and some of the scan parts were bad, some of the power supplies were bad. But we have not physically gone in and opened anything up yet, no.
Okay. And my other question is concerning, if there was a replacement, what kind of costs are we looking at to upgrade basically all the IT connections, the software that we would need to run power to the booth, to upgrade all of that?
The power, the power's already enough there. There's already the Ethernet cable, everything's running. There'd be no additional cost to the district. And I had talked to Mr. Russell about that before as well. That basically everything's in place that we need to do a full replacement with the computer and the marquee itself.
We wouldn't need Cloudcast or anything else.
So our software's called MyCloud. It actually just connects right into your Wi-Fi. And you have one person initially that's labeled as the, say, main user, and then they can actually delegate other people to be users as well. So other people can log on and make changes if needed. But you have one main person that is designated as the user, but it just ties right into your Wi-Fi. We connect right into that way. So there should be a Wi-Fi lane. Right now it runs out of the athletic office. If there's a Wi-Fi port in, just plug right into your Wi-Fi wall jack.
But if there's not, is it something that we're gonna have to add?
Now, is there Wi-Fi in the high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can easily tie some in. The most it would be is running a wire from whatever wire connection to whatever point you want to run that marquee. So if you're running it from the athletic office still, wherever the closest Wi-Fi connection would be, the only additional might be running a wire from there to there. Yeah, it's a very simple process though.
I think what she's saying is that if it's Wi-Fi enabled, does it have a strong enough of will it have a strong enough of a connection out in the guard shed to connect back to the high school?
Yes,
So that Ethernet cable and everything that's, 9, 10 years old can run that?
Yes, correct.
You would replace that.
Not running, not the internet cable, guard shack and in the marquee.
I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. What's the estimated cost?
I think it was, full replacement was $70,475, and I know, Joe, if you help me out here, I can't remember, I got you a bit different price on the installation.
Yeah,
14.5 for full installation. And that's removing the old stuff, disposing of the old stuff, everything old, and installing everything new.
So like $85,000 all in, does that sound right?
I'm sorry?
85,000?
Yes, yeah, ballpark, yes.
And then Joe, we were getting a portion of that paid for by insurance, correct?
Well, if we decided to replace it, we received an initial check, and then there was another check that they would give us for depreciation. So I think the net cost after the checks that we got were $72,000. So it might have been 88. That's what we discussed in the building and grounds committee.
So the insurance pretty much pays for the install.
So we're.
Yeah, you could look, that's a way to look at it, sure.
Or what would be the window of a replacement or a fix? What's the window, time window?
The lead time right now on replacement is roughly probably 8 weeks. Repairing is probably about 3 weeks out. With that installer, he doesn't, this time of year is a lot of installs. The way it's scheduled is probably about 3 weeks out.
That is for replacement.
No, 3 weeks out for repair.
Repair.
Replacement's about 8 to 10 weeks right now. And again, it's a hard number to judge because with all the supply chain issues, sometimes you say you get a shipment in and we don't get it. So right now, our lead time's been 8 to 10 weeks pretty consistently right now.
Did you say how much the repair would cost?
I think that was roughly.
The worst case scenario was 25,000, but everything but $500 would be covered by insurance. So $500 deductible. So if they start, my understanding was that they'll start replacing the stuff that they know is bad, and then if it works, then they'll stop. If it's not working, then they'll go deeper and start replacing more stuff.
And from what I understand, when you get in there, you won't know this until you put the new panels in. Our panel could look like a checkerboard.
Right, exactly. And again, some points, you may replace a couple of power supplies that have visibly are bad, but there could be a couple that aren't visibly that are compromised, but there's no way to know until you start replacing everything.
Is there one power supply per panel?
No, the one power supply, there's a block, there's about, I think it's about, maybe 8 to 10 blocks, or 8 to 10 panels in a block. There's a power supply for each block.
And then
the whole the board's built in sections, and each section has so many panels.
I mean, it's electrical, right, and electronics,
Right.
and if you get struck by lightning,
Correct.
you don't know until you plug it in whether something's actually going to work or not.
Correct. We can replace everything that's visible, we repair everything and turn it on, and it may still not come in. You gotta keep chasing it down the line.
And if we repair it and a month from now, something happens, we're paying for that.
Correct. It's out of warranty at this point. Correct. Yes.
Or one more question, is this the only replacement board you have? Is this like a Cadillac? Is there a Buick available or a Cavalier?
No, because what it is, like, again, everything's gone down to the 16 millimeter, so this is where we're at now, 60 millimeter. If anything, not most people, the Cadillac would be the 10 millimeter. Okay. So I'm at where probably is the most sensible product.
So Joe, help me understand, if they get in there and they start fixing it and they run into a problem, the insurance will cover that?
Yes, and
Okay.
that's why the insurance company only initially cut the check for $10,000 because that's what they deemed for sure was wrong.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't cut the full check to us. And the adjuster spoke with one of your engineers.
Yes.
And had a detailed discussion, and that's the insurance company came up with the first payment of $10,000 and change.
So my concern is that if we choose to repair, we're gonna exhaust this insurance money. And then whether it's a month from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, this thing is eventually going to fail. I mean, it's almost at the end of its shelf life now. So then we're gonna have to have a conversation of completely replacing it, and we lost the opportunity to offset our costs. So I'm advocating that we replace the board for that reason alone. I mean, I'm sure Nedco could come in and repair it and have it up and running for an uncertain amount of time, but then this board or a future board in the very near future is going to be faced with a $80,000 to $100,000 expense. This money, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Esper, but this money will be coming from the construction fund, not the general fund, which we have to spend, it's sitting there for projects like this. And we took a bond out however many years ago, and we have to spend that money within a certain time frame. I believe based on, so I don't know. I just think repairing it is only for a finite amount of time versus taking this money, even though I know some people sitting here don't think it's enough of an offset, but it's still an offset. We may not be sitting here when this thing fails, but somebody will be, and they won't have the opportunity to use money from the construction fund, and then it's going to be a burden from the general fund.
I have a concern with mixing and matching old 10-year-old components with brand new components or newer components and there's no warranty. And then we turn it on, looks good. Okay, a couple panels are a little brighter than others. You guys walk away, and a month later it's broken again because the component that was fried, that wasn't quite all the way fried, died. And now we are going to pay for that. We're going to be back here again.
It will be at this number that we have in front of us now before we know it.
Right.
In repairs.
That's my concern is the mixing and matching of components to repair something electrical that was struck by lightning.
At this time, would the committee like to make a recommendation? Mr. Bennett?
Me, myself, I think we have to make a recommendation on one or the other. I'm on the fence. So I'm gonna.
Will you make it?
I'm gonna look to the other committee members to see how they want to do it. My biggest concern, and I wish somebody here could help me out, but if I leave here and I crash my car, and it looks like there's $10,000 worth of damage, and I put it up on the rack, and the body shop guy says, you know what, it's gonna be 20 grand. Well, now my car is totaled. So now my insurance company is giving me depreciation for my car. I feel like if we don't at least look at it, we're getting, not us, but the insurance company's getting off cheap because we're just cashing out for the amount where this thing could be totaled and we could get $60,000. I don't know that.
But they're only going to repair it at that. So no matter what the amount of money that the check is that the insurance company, that's for a repair. So the day that Nevco leaves and if it fails, we're gonna have to have the same conversation again. So if you're gambling with just call it a round number, the $15,000 that the insurance company is guaranteed to give us now. Yeah, and Mr. Bennett, they will pay to repair the entire thing. And so if it exceeds the 25,000, the policy is it's repair or replace, and since we don't know what the total damage is,
Yeah.
and there's no way they gotta just start repairing it. So once we're in, they will pay to cover it. So it can't be totaled like a vehicle. I did find that out after our.
They repair it so much that it looks brand new and it's filled with brand new equipment.
No.
Well, I don't understand.
That's what.
No. 30 grand to
So
get it right.
he puts $69,000 worth of brand new stuff in there, and not the last $10,000 worth of parts, and calls it fixed and not replaced. Then we should get $69,000, am I right?
Well, they've already put the parts into it.
That's what I'm saying, he's putting like for like, fixes the whole thing, except for one small component. The insurance company looks at that and says, yep, $69,000, we're gonna give you a check for $69,000. I just don't understand the difference between that and $72,000 for replace. I just don't understand the insurance.
Probably, they're only going off the quote, so they can only go off the quote, right now they're lowering the quote.
Chris, so we can hear you.
$1,000 to replace it. Plus,
They're not saying that it's total, so we'll give you a check for 40 towards replacement. The problem is, we don't know.
So back to my original question for Corey. What would it cost for somebody to get in there and tell us a solid amount, what this is gonna cost?
Exactly.
I think
Is there an
that's what's wrong.
analysis?
We don't have a solid amount of what it's gonna cost. We have a guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at this point, what we have to do, I have to have an installer come out. And obviously, he's gonna have a charge by the hour, which I think is about $135 an hour.
But I would rather pay you $270 to tell me it's unrepairable.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'd
That's what I'm-
have to just schedule a time when he's gonna be available to come out, and be able to do that, and start getting in there and see what it is. Obviously, I think I've talked to Joe about this as well. If you had someone in there and said, hey, this thing's definitely not gonna work, what's the insurance company to give? I don't know that either. But
That's what I would like to do. That's my recommendation. I would like to get a true number on what this thing would cost. And I know it's gonna drag us out, but we're already 8 to 10 weeks out of replacing it. So one more week isn't gonna hurt us. But I wanna make sure we're not leaving money on the table.
Well, Mr. Bennett, and again, I spoke with the head engineer in length about that, asking those same things. Like, is there a way that you can get in and just determine everything that's wrong? And he said no. He said they will start replacing parts. Now, it would be nice if they could replace everything up to the $40,000 cost, and then we could say, take it all back out
Okay.
and send us a $40,000 check. So it's, because it's electrical, they just can't tell until they start replacing the parts, and then, like Tori said, you chase it. You gotta chase it down.
A visual is never gonna tell you everything that's wrong. You would actually have to start paying for parts and replacing parts. And then, if that's not it, like you said, you're just chasing it down the line to see what might be wrong next. And again, being 10 years old with a lightning strike, there's gonna be parts that are compromised that you can't see.
So with that being said, then I suggest that the building ground committee recommend replacing the marquee and rule that the board vote on it. Go that route.
I agree.
I agree.
I disagree.
I disagree.
The marquee does not make or break this district, it does not matter, we've talked at length at this, and there's pressing issues that we've discussed nothing of. The fact of the matter is, this money's burning a hole in your pocket, but we have a laundry list of projects that haven't been touched, that the board has already talked about for this district. So, in no way am I supporting a replacement of this.
Okay, would it make a difference if I said the committee recommends we repair it and the board votes on it?
I think we have a recommendation, Bill.
You know what I'm saying? Either way, we all have to vote on it.
I can't hear you.
Because my microphone don't work, but we're gonna have our keys.
That's great.
Hold on, we have a recommendation for the agenda for next week, which is to replace
And
the marquee.
myself, and Mr. Bennett.
And myself.
Yeah, so
We have.
they can vote no next week, correct?
Yes.
So that's your
We just-
recommendation is to replace it.
Correct.
For next week's voting meeting on the agenda, there will be a motion to replace. And then
That's what I'm
we'll vote next week.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
we
I'm asking.
have to put something on the agenda.
Right.
I'm on the fence myself, but we gotta put
I
something.
think we're all on the fence. Listen, nobody here
Tony's not.
built it. Nobody here hit it with lightning, right? But I do feel like we have a obligation to the previous board who felt that it was important to put the marquee up there. And I know a lot of our, community members enjoy seeing their kids' face off on there. We gotta maintain things you know,
Mrs.
at,
Engler,
at a reasonable level.
Mrs. Engler, you had brought that up last, at the committee meeting, and I'm sorry, it still don't work, about the list of projects that we've done. Were you able to obtain that?
I'm sure Sandy has them.
Okay.
Maybe that's something that we need to have as part of the discussion for next week, to bring the list of construction projects that aren't yet approved or are on the list, to add this to it and see what the whole full list looks like. Mrs. Ager.
If we are going to replace, is there any thought of finding out what any other company might charge for installing something brand new?
Exactly.
I think that's
Put out
reasonable.
bids?
We looked at that at the community meeting, Mr.
I
Esper and
can't hear what you're saying.
We looked at that, Mrs. Ahern, Mr. Esper and I. This is a CoStar's pricing, so it's set by the state. We could look and see if there's another CoStar pricing, but when it's CoStar pricing, that's why we don't bid it. You're assuming you've already gotten the best pricing from CoStar. You can see if there's another company on the CoStar list.
I mean, we could look at the labor. I don't know if that's CoStar pricing or not. I don't know.
I believe
I mean,
they're a
it's-
subcontractor.
It was a sub, right?
Yeah, it's the same installers that did the stadium. And the way it's a preferred vendor through Nevco, so it was a CoStar approved.
I mean, we can also ask for like less than final, am I right? Like, this is your first price.
Yes.
Obviously, we're having an issue.
Actually, we already have, his initial price was higher, I've already told him, he already came down about $2,000 on the install, but I can definitely ask, anything I need to do, I can ask.
That's what I was gonna ask, sir. It's my understanding that your CoStar pricing is actually higher than the price you're giving us.
No,
It's not.
CoStar, right, no. No, we have, actually, our standard pricing is listed on the CoStar website, and I can probably 100% guarantee the pricing for the marquee is well even above the discount that's we have on CoStar.
That's what I was saying. What you have listed on CoStar, we're getting it for less.
Oh, a lot less, yes, absolutely.
And the initial,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm saying, my mistake.
and the initial, labor for the install was, I think, 18,000, and I told him that was too high, and we got it down to 14,000, something like that.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry.
Tell them again, Joe.
I don't want to beat the dead horse any longer than we are. However, you said you saw what was wrong with it remote, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why can't he get in there with the same device and find out the same thing? Like looking at what's not lighting up or what's not,
But again, I mean, that's an option, but again, you're gonna have a cost of an installer coming out there going through every single block. There's 180 blocks on the side of that board.
Okay, I just was
Yeah, I mean,
curious.
It's possible, but the remotely is gonna tell you pretty much what you can physically, it's gonna tell you what is bad. But even if he opens up every block, he can look at a power supply, and it could look perfect, it could be running, but he can't tell if it's compromised or not by looking at it. Again, you're not gonna know until it turns back on and you fire it back up and see what happens. And again, it may last a month, it may last 6 months, you have no idea.
Okay, thank you.
And again, it's an electrical mechanical part, there's no way you can just physically look at something and see a life expectancy of it.
Well, I just thought with this remote phone that you could go onto the thing and.
Yeah, it was a diagnostic test remotely that was able to tell the computer went bad, and it was able to read that the power supplies are bad, but it's not gonna tell you if the other ones are compromised.
I see.
Yeah, it can tell you what's bad, but there's no way to tell what might go.
Mr. Souls,
Yes.
how many people can use the current system?
We have one person in charge of running that system.
One person?
One.
Because there's special software involved.
Correct.
And this will allow the district more flexibility in who can actually post items to the board. Claire Barton could post items to the board, they don't have to be in the high school
Right.
to do that.
Yeah,
It's
well,
new situation.
Yeah, it's cloud-based, so any iPhone or Apple device, anything can make changes on
So
it.
it'll open it up to more of our different departments to be able to use the marquee in the future. That's the replacement.
That's replacement, Mr. Wright.
Thank you. So we have an agenda item, the
Think of the
recommendation.
recommendation, everybody gets a vote.
Yes,
You gotta
recommendation.
recommend that stuff.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Moving on to finance, Mr. Esper.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Under finance, we are currently going under our annual audit with Mark Dussel. This is the last audit in a 3-year contract. I did ask them for a proposal for another 3 years, and the pricing would be $22,000, or for 2022, 25.1, 25.7, and 26.3. I think this year they're like 24.5. So I would like to make a recommendation that we keep our current auditors. They know our systems. The audit was much smoother this year so far than last year, and it is a professional service.
Does the committee want to recommend this for the agenda?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and the next item is board docs. And Mr. Souls could probably speak better to this because I believe he used it in his prior school district. But board docs is currently we put the agenda on what I named the folder board docs, and we send stuff out. Well, this board docs would be on the computer and on the website, and so anybody in the public could go in and it's just a different place to store the agendas and possibly bills and anything that we want to put in there. So I think it makes the district more transparent. Obviously, we're pretty transparent with what's on the agenda, but this could give the ability to put more stuff that people can't see currently. I don't think it's going to be without some growing pains like anything new, but we did get a proposal from them. I think they're waiving the $1,000 initiation fee if we do it this month, and I'm sure they would do it if we did it next month. But this is something Mr. Souls and asked, actually Mrs. Butko kind of took the lead on this, since she works on the agenda also. So it's our recommendation that we do it. And I do have copies of the proposal here.
It's also a paperless solution. We could do all the meetings right off the computers. There's no more paper for those who do not want it. So it's awesome.
And is this, we already own it, right, don't we?
We own a portion of it. There's different levels.
Is there a cost to that?
Yeah, it's $2,700.
$2,700.
Yeah, per year. And they have an upgraded version, which is like 10 grand, but I told the guy we're going to take baby steps first, master this, and then if we see a need to upgrade to another level, we can explore that.
And this will allow us to put up invoices, the proposal documents, public documents.
If that's what we so choose to
Supporting
do.
materials.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, you can load whatever you want up onto it. There is a private side, which would be for like executive sessions and so forth. And there's a public side for the public.
Yep, absolutely. I just want to make sure that we get training. If we do this, we get trained on it. We know how to use it. We have more than a couple people that know how to do it, so we have backup.
Primarily right now, Mrs. Arbusek, Mrs. Butker, and myself do all the agendas for the meeting, so we'll all be trained on it.
Recommendation from the committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to athletic activities, we have on there the booster addendum for admission to the football game for the athletic handbook we already discussed.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Is that any game, not just football games, right? That's it, basketball?
That's, yes.
Any game.
That's any game we host, that there's paid admission to, if there's a booster group, that's who gets the tickets.
I just want to make sure we're picking on football boosters or.
No, they're not picking on boosters. Everybody's.
All paid admission.
And also, we've been in talk with our band booster group, and They've been very gracious to give up the visitor side concession stand, and we've now offered that out to our other groups to use during their events, as well as talking with the soccer boosters about moving the trailer during football games and so forth, and hopefully start eliminating some of the structures and permanent fixtures around the stadium to clean that up for a better line of sight for security and for aesthetics. We will continue using that trailer for the duration of this fall season, but we will move it on Friday morning to the lower parking lot and bring it back Monday for those groups to use.
Mr. Souls, do you know if soccer will then use the opposite concession stand instead of the trailer, or?
That's what we're hoping to, since we have the facilities now and it's open for people to use, that we'd start using our own facilities. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to technology, Dr. Sullivan, would you like to give an update on our website?
Yes, Mr. Souls. Over the summer, there were some school board members and all the administration, and we were talking how to constantly improve communication. One was the mentality of having a one-stop shop for information that would be official. That is actually the website itself. Our current website is maxed out on its capabilities. So trying to improve, Mr. Brian Getz and myself did some shopping around to see what are our options, how we can improve. We did find one. It will meet our needs. It is, in my opinion, about 10,000 times better than the current website right now. The new website can handle a lot more different features, including running a district webpage directly on the homepage, along with any of our Titan TV and other types of social media, if we choose to go that route, with a crystal clear calendar that would be able to upload district events much easier and streamlined than currently. Actually, the price of the website that we're looking at is cheaper than the one that we have right now. But the good thing is it comes with, in a 2021 atmosphere, an easy-to-use app for your Apple or Droid phone. And this way, you can get actually notifications linked up through that if you choose to do that as well. That makes it a little bit more than what our current website is, but of course you're getting two items for the price of one. It also comes with an upgraded school messenger system, so that's a good thing along with it. But Mr. Getz, his specialty is this atmosphere, and so I'm working along with him, and we both feel very confident that this will be a vast improvement. Our goal would be, since it's going to take, I'd say approximately 12 weeks from start to finish, to have it ready. So if the board decides to go in this direction, we're looking at having it ready to go for the second semester.
Mr. Solomon, is there some sort of contract that we have with that website that we can get out of it, or?
It's actually, at this point, since the contract is so old, it is just year to year. So there's always going to be like a 12-week semester overlap, no matter what we decide to do. So that contract, I believe, will end sometime around May. So you're looking at January to May would be the double time.
And who would be responsible for uploading all the content onto the site?
Well, actually, the primary person would be Brian Getz. A lot of our administrators, in particular the building principals, have done the best job that they can definitely outside of their wheelhouse per se, but, one of the things that we talked about at the summer retreat was, having that individual that would be able to assist and even do a little bit more to assist. And actually, Brian Getz fits that position quite admirably. So I wouldn't have any problems with that. And of course, I would still continue to work with him, although he definitely knows more than I do on that topic.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, Dr. Souls. The app, is that for parents?
Yeah, that'd be for anybody, yes. And just to add something that I know you'd appreciate, when I discussed it with all the techs, they were very excited about talking about it, and they're saying how this is really a good move in today's society.
I think we need to take it as an opportunity to clean up. Our current website's very busy, there's a lot of obsolete content on there.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be part of it. And matter of fact, while we're sitting here, Brian Getz has already been starting to map it out. And, I've learned a lot from him. He's taught me a lot over the past month. And just to see how he can organize all this, it was quite impressive. So it just comes to the point that the current website is maxed out. It has been maxed out. The pictures don't fit right. I mean, there's a lot of things on here that need to be upgraded.
Is there a cost? What's the cost, right? You said it's cheaper.
Yeah, I think currently we might pay about $9,000, and the website itself is probably $8,000, but the app takes it a little bit of time. That's approximately.
Any other questions?
I just recommend that more than one person knows how to use it. We get a couple of people trained, maybe a person in each building. That way it's not just all on Mr. Getz.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, for the education committee, something we're starting to look into is the before and after school program. Dr. Solomon's also working towards this to start, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Solomon in a second, he can explain it. But we have a couple other administrators, Mrs. Silvas and Mrs. Baker, involved in this program as we still start to look to try to compete with some of our neighboring charter schools as well. So Dr. Solomon, we want to talk about our progress on the before and after school.
Yes, Mr. Souls. The before and after school program, looking at some of the local charter schools, trying to compare it. The only thing that really sticks out on paper is having before and after school care. And then looking around at the other local school districts, Baldwin, West Jeff, South Park, and others, they all are starting or have had programs. They all look different. Some are outside exterior company coming in, some are district run in-house. I mean, you have the full gamut. We're at the part now that we're trying to examine, looking at what's our best option. I know that Mrs. Silvas has been crucial in this with her knowledge. So that's where we're moving towards right now, and to see, what is the best plan so we can meet the needs of, in particular, K-5 students for, working parents or something of that nature where they just need to drop their kids off a little earlier, pick them up a little later, and it makes us be competitive with other school districts and also charter schools.
Any questions? And this is all part of the ESSER 3 of providing students that extra resource in educational time as well. The second item is the superintendent's conference, November 3rd through the 5th. We'd like to ask the committee to recommend that Dr. Solomon and I participate in this event. This is held by IU3, and I believe it's in Bedford this year.
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right, last one is policy. We have policy 600, 700, and 800, and 900 ready. We just need to schedule a meeting among our policy committee to start the review. So we can schedule that later in the week here. We'll get out an email for some time so we can come together and start meeting.
We'll try to schedule a meeting sometime early next week.
That's all I have for committees.
Thank you, Mr. Souls. Mrs. Kostelnik, the Steel Center report.
That would be Mrs. White, the attendant this.
Okay, Mrs. White,
I will give a report next week.
next week? Okay, thank you, Mrs. White. 17 solicitors report. Solicitors report.
No, my report was just
Thank you, Tricia. 18 old business. 19 new business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bennett, second by Mr. Stone.